Michael Popok, Legal AF. It wasn't just one search warrant against Donald Trump that supports the Mar-a-Lago ultimate indictment. It was 8 search warrants. How do we know that? Because the media has put pressure on and filed motions with the magistrate judge supervising all things related to search warrants. Magistrate Judge Bruce Reinhart down in the Southern District of Florida. He sits in Fort Lauderdale. He was the one that issued, based on affidavits, the Mar-a-Lago search warrant that was eventually executed in August of last year. Hard to believe it was 11 months ago. But that wasn't the only one. We know now that there were 7 more search warrants. That doesn't mean there were 7 more properties of Donald Trump that were searched, because you need a search warrant even if you were to, for example, expand the rooms that you were going to search at Mar-a-Lago. You may need a second search warrant, because search warrants are specific as to geography, location, and purpose. You can say to a magistrate judge, we want to search these 3 rooms. If you want to go back and search 3 more rooms, you got to do it with a second search warrant. So we don't know how many actual search warrants were issued related to Mar-a-Lago, and we don't know how many of the remaining search warrants, that total 8 in number, relate to things like a phone, a computer tablet, a social media account, or other things. There's some great reporting on this out of NBC. Hats off to Tom Winter, John Dienst, and in this case, for this particular reporting, Rebecca Shabbat, who did this reporting. We did not know there were more than one. We always suspected there was more than one. We thought perhaps there was one issued, for instance, for Bedminster, because, why would Jack Smith take Donald Trump at his word that it was all properly searched when people like Tim Parlatore, who was the lawyer for Donald Trump, quit noisily and told the world that he couldn't properly search Bedminster and other places because henchmen for Donald Trump like Boris Epshteyn got in his way? You'd think there'd be a subpoena for Mar-a-Lago or a search warrant, but by now you'd also think the media would have known if that was executed. But these other ones, which is why it tends to prove a point that the 7 other search warrants were either for Mar-a-Lago related property or locations, and or phones, text messages, photographs, social media accounts related. And then all this got together and formed the basis for the indictment, and then ultimately, going to be used in the prosecution. The problem is the Department of Justice, this is like the secret formula for Coca-Cola, right? They don't want to reveal this to anybody. They've never, in fact, they took the position in a recent filing down in Florida related to the revelation about these 7 additional search warrants, that we never in the history of the Department of Justice have ever turned over our search warrants and our underlying affidavits in support without redaction to the public, let alone to a defendant. It's just not done. And they don't want it to be done now with new precedents. Now, Judge Reinhart, Magistrate Judge Reinhart, not Judge Cannon, is going to make the ultimate decision about this. You have the media pressuring in order for the public to have access to these documents, because we don't do trials in secret in this country. Donald Trump, as a future dictator, might like that option, but we don't do that. The public has a place and is a stakeholder in our speedy trial process, in our bringing people to justice process. Anybody can walk into a courtroom and watch a trial in America. It's not done in secret. Arbitrations are a different story. That's private justice done in secret. But you file a case, or one is filed against you in federal court, in state court, anybody can walk in the door, watch that trial at any time. Criminal case, same exact thing. If you can find a seat, you can have it. You should do it. It's actually, you think Law and Order on television is fun? Go down to your local courthouse one day, pack a brown bag lunch, go figure out the trial docket online, and go and sit and watch a trial. May not be as fun as this particular hot take or what we do on the MeidasTouch network or on Legal AF, but it's something that's valuable. Not just going down to court when you're forced to go for jury duty, but go down and watch a couple of days of a trial. Watch a civil trial, watch a criminal trial, watch our criminal justice and civil justice system in action. You'll come away more knowledgeable if you do that. All right, that was an ad for going down to court. Let's talk about what's going on with Donald Trump. We have not one subpoena. We've got 8 subpoenas. It probably includes at least one additional location for Donald Trump. Could be the storage unit in West Palm Beach that taxpayers pay for because he's a former president, but also contain classified top secret documents. Or it could be more likely telephones, photographs, communication devices that the Justice Department has gotten their hands on. And now we're going to have to watch this delicate dance. And I'll report on it on hot takes just like this one, in which the Department of Justice is going to beg and plead Magistrate Reinhardt not to turn over without heavy redaction, heavy black lines that you can't see through, information so the public doesn't know who's cooperating witnesses, who isn't cooperating, what was found on documents. Because, at the end of the day, the presumed innocent Donald Trump, I mean, there's more evidence against this presumed innocent guy than has put a dozen men on death row. Let's just leave it at that. But he's presumed innocent. He has the right to a fair trial and an impartial trial, even though he keeps trying to interrogate and influence and interfere with the justice system, judges, prosecutors, their families, jurors, grand jurors, special grand jurors, and the like, right? To intimidate them. But he's still entitled to a fair trial, and revealing this information in the form of of a search warrant or its supporting affidavit could have the impact of undermining the ability for somebody like Donald Trump to get a fair trial. And so the Department of Justice cares about these things because, well, it's in their name. They're the Department of Justice. And when they're run and controlled by an adult who you can trust, like Merrick Garland, instead of a hack like Bill Barr and Jeff Sessions and whoever else Donald Trump had, for as long as he could tolerate them before he fired them in order to continue his big lie that he lost the election and there was voter fraud, and then hired new attorney generals, acting attorney generals, and the like. But the new reporting here is there's a lot of search warrants that have been used just in Mar-a-Lago, which also indicates a lot of people who turned over things against their will and may or may not be now cooperating. We know there's maintenance workers that have got a target letter, meaning they're going to get indicted if they don't flip on Donald Trump. That's at the maintenance worker level. Can you imagine what Jack Smith is doing at the higher level to squeeze Mark Meadows, Rudy Giuliani, right? Ken Cheeseborough, future John Eastman. When they get there, their brass and a ringer and how they're going to squeeze there in order to get them to flip or go sit in Leavenworth Penitentiary for a long, long time. That's what prosecutors do, and that's how they bring people to justice, and it's completely appropriate. I'm going to follow these kind of developments. 1 search warrant, 8 search warrants. Who are they? Who came in and testified already against Donald Trump? Who will testify against him as we move towards a likely indictment of Donald Trump this week? We'll follow it. Whether he's indicted on Tuesday or Thursday, we'll follow it on Wednesday and Saturday on the podcast known as Legal AF. I co-founded and co-anchored. Only one place. You know where it is. MeidasTouch Network. You're watching it now. You can follow me on all things social media at MS Popok, including on Threads. If you like my kind of hot takes, slide over to the YouTube channel for the MeidasTouch Network. Free subscribe. It helps the cause. It's all free. And go look at playlists. You can find Michael Popok there. I don't know why I'm talking about myself in the third person, but when you work on reporting about Donald Trump, you can sometimes slip into that bad habit. And if you can watch us record Legal AF on YouTube. You can listen to us everywhere you get a podcast from in audio format, from Apple to Google to Spotify. I'm going to keep reporting hot takes like this. I hope you're here with me. Leave a comment, do a thumbs up. We'll open a dialogue, and I'll see you next time. Michael Popok, Legal AF reporting.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.